Having the right advisors and the right people around you. Surround yourself with people who really know what they're doing when it comes to funding, IPOing, and all those types of things is extremely important.
Welcome everyone to UpTech Report. This is our Founder's Journey series. UpTech Report is sponsored by Terraleap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. I'm joined by my guest, Christian Damstra. This is part 2 of our discussion. Definitely check out part 1 where he talks about Damstra Technologies, an interesting workplace management platform to track, manage, protect workers and assets, particularly in the blue-collar workspace, such as mining, construction, manufacturing, to name a few. Now, Christian, I'm excited to hear a bit more about your journey over the years, 20 years building this product, starting with actually a service-based business, building the technology for yourself and your own clients, and then now going completely into just offering the technology and the platform itself. To begin, if I can ask you, what would you wish you had known 20 years ago that you know now, that you could tell yourself? What would that be?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think... Look, cloud technologies have come a long way. I think if I reflect back on where we started 20 years ago, and we're quite unique in this, that we've never had an on-premise solution. Our solution was cloud hosted 20 years ago, before we really knew what cloud was. It was really just a remote-based server, but that's what cloud is, and that's what cloud was back then. If I knew that we had the power of the cloud coming, we may have designed some things differently throughout our time. But ultimately, we're really pleased with where we are and where we started, and the fact that we never started at an on-premise solution. So there's not a lot there for us to take away.
That's powerful to know. You're already going in the right direction, but it's hard, you can't really know where everything goes in the future. But it's that journey. So tell me a bit more. I mean, what's your journey been like? How did you get to where you are today? Can you expand on that story?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been interesting. I mean, I'm actually an electrician and electronics engineer by background. I spent most of my time working in the black coal mining industry on the shop floor. So I got to experience the management challenges and the management problems that everyone had in those industries, in particularly those heavy industries. From there, when we went into the labour hire and resourcing side of the world, we found the problem and identified the issue with not being able to keep those people safe and track all of their training, skills, competencies, etc. So that's really where we started. We had an acquisition some time ago, back in 2006, where we were taken over by a public company, and they acquired the company to take the labour hire and resourcing component. For the next 9 years, I operated just the technology, and we were able to grow the organisation through that time, mainly from a corporatisation perspective, until we took it back private in 2016. 2016 is where we really started our growth journey. We had 20 staff in one office in Singleton of New South Wales, Australia. Fast forward to where we are today, we've got 200 staff, 9 offices, and we're operating in 13 countries, looking after well over 500,000 people a day.
I remember in our prep chat hearing this story, effectively starting private, going public, taking it back private, and now public again on the Australian Stock Exchange. Not many can say that.
It's been an interesting journey, that's for sure, but it's been done at the right time for the right reasons, and it's really made a big difference to the success of our organisation.
What would you say is one of the biggest lessons learned when it comes to funding, or even when it comes to going public and coming back, that someone else could gain some insight from?
Having the right advisors and the right people around you. Surround yourself with people who really know what they're doing when it comes to funding, IPOing, and all those types of things is extremely important. I'm very lucky that we assembled a very competent board when we went back private, and it was that board who was able to drive us right through to that IPO position successfully. Without having the right governance in your organisation, it's a big challenge.
Did you get funding along the way, aside from the IPOs, and how any lessons learned on that to be able to grow?
We were actually self-funded the entire way until 12 months before the IPO. We decided to do a pre-IPO round. And the only reason we did that round was not for actual funding to operate the company. It was done to bring the right core investors in to give us a successful IPO at that point in time. So it was really about setting ourselves up for success in the IPO. It wasn't because the company needed cash.
Interesting tactic there to bring in investors right before an IPO to make sure it is successful. IPO.
Absolutely. And it's really important to us. I mean, we've actually, we're a bit of an unusual software as a service company. A couple of metrics that really make us stand out are that we're actually EBITDA positive and have been throughout the entire journey of our company. And the other thing that makes us stand out a little bit is our churn rate. I mean, our churn rate is what I would consider to be world class at sub 0.5%.
Wow. How do you accomplish that?
Oh, I think we accomplish that for a few reasons. One is, as much as we are a software as a service company, we don't physically go and sell you something. We're actually out there partnering with you and working with you to make your worksite safer. And part of that journey is growing with you. So as your needs change, our needs change. And as we work together, we get a better outcome. So it's not about just giving you a product and walking away.
It's definitely not just a standard product that just you buy it or sell it or move on, but it's developing, always trying to create that relationship, which works when you're working with larger enterprises and mid-market where they have the budget to be able to spend with you. What would you say is the biggest lesson learned, or even when it comes to mistakes, in order to acquire said type of clients and customers on your platform that someone else can gain some insight from?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is the platform's quite broad. We have a lot of features in the platform and people get very excited by that. And when they get excited, they want to go very fast and try and roll out everything at the same time. That is not the advisable way to do it because it is a big change for your workforce. And it's very important that you accept that and we put a plan in place to successfully roll that out. It's always better to do a part, so pick one important piece, get that rolled out successfully, and then add the extra modules as you move forward. Don't try and do all modules at once.
So lesson learned as far as another SaaS company, if you're offering a solution that is solving a wide variety, you're trying to provide the whole stack, if you could say, of a solution, make sure the implementation starts small for that company. Otherwise, they get overwhelmed and it could be a bad experience.
Absolutely.
Right. As far as marketing and being able to scale this company throughout the years, what are you seeing as some common mistakes people are making right now in marketing in today's environment?
I think a lot of people are spending a lot of money on trade shows and those types of things, standing at booths, and we don't invest very heavily in those. I think we try to do maybe 2 trade shows a year that are world class at most. We find direct engagement. But that's a lot to do with the type of product we're offering. People don't tend to walk through a trade show and say, let's go and buy a new workforce management solution.
So how do you get the meetings then? Like, how do you get in front of somebody's eyes and face at these type of companies?
Direct target marketing. So we actually reach out directly to target customers. And the other one is through our partnerships.
How have you developed those partnerships? What's any good tactics on developing good channel partners and partnerships to be able to grow?
We actually have a partnership, Senior Vice President of Partnerships in the United States and another one over in New Zealand, and they look after our global partnerships. So they're able to nurture and meet with partners on a regular basis and really understand and help them drive sales. Because ultimately, it's not a matter of just saying you're my partner and walking away. It's about supporting them throughout that journey.
As far as then building the right team, as you just mentioned, those VPs that are managing this and the entire company-wide, which you said 200 and some employees?
200 employees, yeah.
What would you say are some common mistakes one could make in hiring, both leadership team and the company overall, that you could advise against? Or
Leadership is key. You need really good executive leaders. You need to make sure they're the right people and know how to operate across borders and manage remote teams. I mean, even in today's world of COVID, there's a lot of people working from home and remotely from their normal offices, and it requires a different skill set. Driving productivity in those types of environments is extremely difficult, and you need a leadership team who can actually go out and do that.
Any lessons learned as far as managing team worldwide, global, where it's distributed and there's people all over the place? Any insights there?
Make sure you've got good leaders in each of those regions. Don't just hire a person in a region and think they're going to self-manage. And make sure you have lots of catch-ups and lots of joint meetings with the rest of the organisation so they feel like they're part of the team, because they are.
What would you say is the biggest challenge going into the next year that's coming up that is on your roadmap to solve and work on?
Well, I'm excited for the next year. I think we're coming off the back of a pretty tough year with COVID in business in general. I'm excited to see what the vaccinations are going to bring, how that's going to change businesses as they move forward, getting back to some form of COVID normal. I would like to think that companies will start investing again and start looking more at these technologies over the next 12 months. And certainly that's the way we're going to be approaching it.
Gotcha. As a leader, any places you would recommend as far as books, audiobooks, podcasts, blogs, sites that you have found great insight and would recommend?
I don't actually read a lot of books and things. I'm normally working in the business and on the business and those types of things. But certainly, I don't mind a good TED talk here and there on the right topics.
TED Talks are always great. I love those. Great insights there. Well, thank you so much, Christian, for sharing your insights. For those that want to learn more about Damstra Technologies, make sure you check out part 1 of our interview where he breaks it down. Also, go to damstratechnology.com and you can be able to take a look at their platform. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us on UpTech Report. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. If your company wants to learn how to better leverage the power of video to increase sales and marketing results, head over to terraleap.io and learn about the new product, Customer Stories. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Christian, for joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.